So I know last few of these videos, it's kind of been a thing where I've been like, am I going to keep watching this show? I'm going to say at this point, I'm committing to finishing this season. I don't plan to come back for the third season though. As it's for a couple of reasons. So this I thought that this season was going to sharply lose me over a specific moment. That hasn't happened, but it has instead steadily been making it harder for me to come back. And at this point, if it wasn't only like, if instead of getting a season two and a season three, if we got, this one's short. If we instead got, a 10 or 12 episode season covering everything, I'd probably be bailing about now. 2 episodes left in the season, I'll finish it out. But I'm going to stop there. I'm pretty sure. I'd be surprised if I changed my mind on this. And it's not because it's bad, as I keep emphasizing. It's not a matter of being bad. It's a matter of it being something I don't want and find unpleasant. And I'm not going to make any kind of argument that like it's invalid or it's bad art or it's bad media. I can only tell you why I don't feel like it's worth sticking around for me. I've really started to appreciate this episode, how much more action there is this season. And I know that some people wanted that. Like, I know there was a complaint from some people, I think mostly people who had played the games, that there wasn't enough action in the first season. I vehemently disagree with that. And it feels like they're trying to meet that criticism a bit by having more action scenes, including, as I understand it, some that aren't in the games, like the whole assault on Jackson. So, and it's not that the action scenes aren't done well, they are, but it feels like the show, at least in terms of what drew me in that first season, that being the characters, their interaction, and everything being built around them, I feel like the show is losing the plot by giving me less of that in favor of still very good action scenes. For me, the action scenes weren't even really flavored. They just kind of established the threat of the world, but they weren't really used to do too much more than that. And I didn't really want more than that from them. So we have this extended action scene where Ellie and Dina kind of get overwhelmed, and Dina's trying to stay safe in this sort of cage, and Jesse shows up, which feels a little Deus Ex Machina ish, but I mean, fine, we had to get him out of that situation somehow. And again, it's a good action scene, but I remember just the escalation, when they realize they're dealing with the smarter infecteds. They there's a few, and then like here's a whole room full of them. I'm like, again, that moment felt like, this has gone from being the threat of these things to, now we're in an action set piece. And it felt very video gamey. It felt very, here's your combat arena, fight the horde. And one of the things I really appreciated about the first season was how little of the game felt, how little of the show felt video gamey. Really, it was only when a bloater showed up in the first season that I was like, it's a mini boss. That was literally the only moment where I could feel its video game roots. This season, I'm feeling it more, and a lot of it just has to do with the frequency of the action and or the establishing of things that will have to be taken down and dealt with through violence and action. So that's one thing. The other thing is it's just the continued weight of watching Ellie get worse. Just get worse as a person, and seeing what she does in this episode, what she is willing to do in pursuit of, I'm sorry, very, very empty vengeance. And I think the show knows that. I think the show, and I assume the game, has an understanding that like this is a bad pursuit she's engaging with, and I don't disagree. And if you want to make this whole vengeance is not a good thing, like I even think that's a decent point worth making. I think that's a point best made in a 2-hour movie as opposed to a 7-hour season of TV. Like, that's a point you can make pretty quick. It's real hard to just get me invested. And I'm not going to say that nothing worked here. I'll tell you what I did really appreciate. What I thought was the best scene by far in this episode. And it actually kind of answered a question I had in the back of my head. When Dina talks to Ellie about what happened to her when she was a kid, what happened to her family, and her thinking, what if I had, what happened to my family was terrible, but what if I'd had to watch the way that Ellie had to watch what happened to Joel? And that trauma and that anger, that is a really good explanation why Dina is not only present, but helping. Because part of me, like, not overridingly so, I haven't even brought it up, but part of me has been wondering, like, why is Dina on board? Like, is there more than just she likes Ellie and this is what Ellie wants to do, so she's just kind of supported by default? Because this is a lot to be going through on that basis. Like, no, she has her own trauma, and the way that she is applying the feelings and lessons of that trauma results in her helping Ellie. And I really appreciated that. I also actually just really appreciated the melancholy of the scene in the theater with Ellie picking up the guitar and sitting down, and she sings one line and just puts the guitar back. Like, there's a real wonderful melancholy to that, that I appreciated. And I think the scenes between the two of them were the best stuff. But that's the stuff I'm getting less of. I'm getting less bonding. I'm getting less interactions. I'm getting less of these characters in favor of action scenes and cruelty. Because, yeah, there's more with the cult. And I really, oh boy. So at this point, and keep in mind, I have not played the second game, and I don't intend to. But at this point, it really feels like that opening scene where we first were introduced to this cult. And it was a group of, so far as we were shown them, far more pacifist ones that did not seem to want to hurt anybody and were just trying to get through an area, and they were hiding. They weren't trying to fight, they were trying to hide. And we know that children were killed by the WLF. So it feels like that was done kind of tokenly just to make both sides monsters. Because I would be shocked, absolutely stunned, if we see a pacifist, non-threatening sect of this cult again. I fully expected that from this point on. It's just going to be the fanatics who will string people up and disembowel them. And it's just going to be them and the WLF. And I don't like any of you people. I don't like any of you as a group, as individuals. I don't want this. This is like, I understand what it's doing and how it fits into the microcosm theme of Ellie seeking vengeance as we see the macro picture of these two groups just tearing each other apart at this point, basically for the principle of the thing, despite the fact that it's not good for either group and it's never going to result in anything helpful. I understand the macro setup mirroring the micro setup in regards to amplifying the themes. I understand that, but it's so unpleasant, I don't want it. Like, the point is being made well enough with Ellie and how far down this path she's already gone and is going to have to continue to go, that this is all horrible and shouldn't be happening. And this is a cycle that needs to end. I don't need that same lesson reiterated at a macro scale. Not when, like, there's no catharsis in it. There's just pain. And I said at the start of this season that what I'm worried about this being is misery porn. And it kind of is. It's not as gratuitous as I thought it was going to be, because if it had been, I would have bailed before now. But it kind of is. It kind of feels like the moments of levity, of kindness, of bonding are there to make the pain hurt more. And it reminds me of why I never came back to The Walking Dead after the first season. Well, I mean, truth be, the first season I was like, that's fine. I didn't understand. Well, I do understand why everybody lost their mind, because it appealed to a bunch of people who don't normally watch zombie-related stuff. Having more of a background in zombie films, I was like, that was fine. It didn't come back because I didn't think it was all that much. But I knew people who did watch it, and whenever they told me anything about it, I'm like, this just feels like it hates its audience and wants them to suffer. I'm getting a similar feeling from this. And I don't really want to be in an abusive relationship with a piece of media. So, like I said, I'll finish out this season because there isn't that much left. But I can't imagine what this show could do in its last 2 episodes that would make me want to see more past this season. We'll see. We'll see, I guess. Last of Us. Episode 5? I think 5, whatever it is, whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. Those all help me out. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Quite Bearish, Zubin Lutfula, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Andre, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Pal Barabajoggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. And also Toka Blue Hoovian, Auntie Kate 808, and Tracy Scrabbit. If you'd like to hear me try and pronounce your name correctly while these guys chitter in my ears, check out the reward tiers on the Patreon. Yes, I hear you.